Uh, there we go.
We just started the recording.
Greetings, everyone, as everyone joins us gradually. Thank you for registering today. It is an honor for the Canadian International Council Toronto branch to host this virtual presentation and chocolate tasting with Tareq Hadhad, CEO of Peace by Chocolate. My name is Henry Lowton. I'm a longtime board member of the Toronto branch and a retired diplomat. It is my honor and delight to introduce Tareq today. The journey of this Syrian-Canadian entrepreneur, his family, and delicious chocolate is a riveting human story and also has important lessons for Canadian foreign policy and immigration policy. The family lost their chocolate making business in Damascus in 2012 after it was bombed in the war. His father, the chocolatier. Tareq, a former medical student at Damascus University and a longtime peace advocate, joined medical relief efforts after arriving in Lebanon. They were welcomed to Antigonish, Nova Scotia on a community-based sponsorship. Mixing peace advocacy and entrepreneurship, the family relaunched the family business. Tareq utilizes a network of local community members and refugees from across Nova Scotia and Canada to support the local economy. In September 2016, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's speech to the United Nations Leaders Summit on Refugees detailed and heralded the family's success story. Tareq is the recipient of Startup Canada's National Entrepreneurship, a Newcomer Entrepreneurship Award, was selected by Google as the National Hero Case for 2018, and won Ernst & Young Entrepreneurship of the Year Atlantic Award in 2021. Tareq has been featured at Amnesty International's Human Rights Conference, TEDx events, World Bank, OECD, Chamber of Commerce dinners, and keynote presentations in Copenhagen, Paris, and London. The company now looks to offer more employment opportunities as their business grows across Canada, and I was delighted to hear with their intentions of coming to Toronto. To say more, we'll steal time from his remarks. If you have not already eaten all of the chocolate samples, you can now bring them out for the presentation. It is my honor to present Tareq Hadhad. A brief Q&A through the chat function will follow his remarks. Thank you. The floor is yours, Tareq.
Hello and good evening, everybody. Thank you very much, Henry. Thank you very much for having me, everyone, and for taking the time to come and join us today to listen to my presentation and my story. It is an absolute honor of mine, to be honest, to be sharing this platform with amazing leaders who are always there and passionate to help other human beings on the other side of the planet. My story is the story of everyone. I always say that the story of my family coming here to Canada and starting a new life is almost the story of Canada for people who are dreaming and passionate about rebuilding their lives and their dreams and having a brighter future for themselves and their families. Before I start digging into my presentation, I just want to say a thank you note to Henry for the beautiful introduction, and thank you for all the kind words, Henry. I just have to say that a few weeks ago, I was doing a presentation and I had 20 minutes to speak. And the lady who was introducing me at that time at the conference, she spoke about me for 45 minutes. So she absolutely didn't leave anything for me to say during the presentation. So I truly appreciate the remarks there, Henry. Thank you very much. Why am I here? Why am I telling you our story? Why is it different? Why is it unique? Why does it matter in these days? Why should everyone really care about peace building projects? Why should everyone connect to peace? This is a moment in time in our history when we are realizing that our differences can consume us totally if we don't realize that we have much more in similarities than the things that separate us. In 1986 was the year that has changed the history and the future for my family. But before I dig into the history of my family, I wanted to share with you, why are we even calling the company in Canada Peace by Chocolate? The story connects to history, to our past, and to our future. We call the company Peace by Chocolate because we believe that peace is a noble thing that everyone should fight for. Chocolate is a product that just makes everyone happy. We wanted to bridge them together, and it's a perfect marriage, isn't it? So, you know, in 2018, when we were just in the startup phase of the business, I came to Toronto, and there was a conference there, and there was a global entrepreneur, which I'm sure a lot of you have met throughout his speeches, his videos on YouTube and online. His name is Simon Sinek. And I was talking about starting a chocolate company as a newcomer, as an immigrant, as a refugee with my family here in Canada, and the reason and the passion and the mission behind building a more peaceful world. And then Simon came to me and he said, Tareq, do you know that Canadians don't need more chocolate, right? They already have enough. You can go into a grocery store and you can buy as much chocolate as you want. You can go to a chocolate boutique, a chocolate lounge, and you can eat as much chocolate as you want. It was like, how are you going to be different? I'm like, we are really trying to make delicious chocolate. And he was like, you should know that people don't buy what you do. People buy why you do it. And then we started focusing on really, why are we in business? Why are we making chocolate? What are the things that by making our chocolate are really going to help others to realize the potential of newcomers and immigrants? What is in our chocolate that's going to change someone's perspective about supporting a refugee, believing in them? I always say, don't feel sorry for refugees. Don't feel sorry for refugees. You have to believe in them. You have to know that they are there to contribute and they are not there to take. I mentioned 1986 because it was absolutely an extraordinary year. Although before I was born, my father graduated as a civil engineer from Damascus. And then he came back home to my grandmother and he told her, well, Mom, I'm no longer passionate about being a civil engineer. And she said, what are you going to be? And he said, well, I really don't know. I'm going to figure it out in the next couple of weeks. Suddenly, they went to my cousin's wedding after a week, and everyone at the wedding was enjoying themselves, having fun. But everything changed after they started serving chocolate at the wedding. My father was looking at everybody's face, and everyone was smiling, was shining with joy and happiness. It was that contagious. It was infectious. The spirit in the room has absolutely changed. Everyone was going around and giving away some of their pieces of chocolate to some of their friends and family members as a way of appreciation and gratitude. Someone who liked a piece of chocolate was sharing their own box with somebody else. You know, this is true love. If you share chocolate, this is true love. I was talking to Henry about Valentine's Day, which is only a week away from now. And absolutely, you know, if you know somebody who's willing to share their box of chocolate with you, this is a huge sign. They are a keeper. They are a keeper. So my father was at the wedding and he came back to my grandmother and he told her, Mom, I found it. She said, what are you going to do, Isam? And he said, I am going to make chocolate. And my grandmother at that time, she was surprised because my father didn't know what was even a knife called in the kitchen. What was, you know, how to use kitchen tools. He didn't do, and he was not able to make 2 fried eggs at that time. So my grandmother was so worried about the opportunity lost there for my father to spend 4 years at university to come afterwards and say that he wants to make chocolate, which was in my grandmother's mind absolutely impossible. But my father was so persistent that he said, I'm going to prove that I can make it. He went to the library in Damascus and he picked up all kinds of books from the shelves, and he started learning about how does everyone in their own culture make their own chocolate. My father learned how do Egyptians make their chocolate, how do Turkish people eat their chocolate, Belgians, Americans, everyone. And then he came up with his own recipe. After 3 months of research, my father believed that to be an entrepreneur, you have to know what others are doing to come back really and share your love and share your product with your community. It was absolutely stunning to know that from my father that, you know, he had that vision and mission for my family ahead of time. When he came back to the home kitchen with my grandmother and he told her, I found it, I'm going to make a chocolate shop outside of this home kitchen. Actually, after that, my grandmother kicked him after the home kitchen because it was creating a mess everywhere on the fridge, everywhere on the stove, everywhere on the floor. And my father really wanted to have his own space afterwards. So he built one shop downtown Damascus. And at that time, my father was really popular because you really don't need much, you know, to be a popular person. If you make chocolate, right? You can give away chocolate to whoever you are coming across them. So my father was giving away chocolate on the buses, on the way to his work, you know, to neighbors. He became the hero of the family because everyone was coming to taste his new flavors. Well, I have to tell you that from what I heard so far, my grandmother used to tell me the first batch of chocolate my father made was absolutely terrible. The second batch was better. The third batch was absolutely good. And then the fourth and the fifth, and my father kept improving every single week, making new flavors and mixing his product with absolute love and passion for the things that would make his customers happy. 2 shops that my father opened in Damascus at that time, 2. One was downtown, the other one was on the way to the airport. The real story for my family that really brought us together in the first place is that shop on the way to the airport. And you know, I just mentioned that we are less than a week away from Valentine's Day, so you would totally appreciate hearing this story. That was around 1987 when my father opened that chocolate shop on the way to the airport and became really popular. It became on the tongue of everyone who was traveling in or outside Damascus, that they were stopping by to taste this amazing chocolate that they have never tried before. And my father was working one day. My mother, who didn't know him at that time, she was on her way to the airport. And she said that she had 4 hours to spare before her flight. So she decided to stop by the chocolate shop to buy chocolate gifts for her family members. She came to the shop, she opened the door, and she told my dad, hello. My father said, hi, my name is Isam, what's your name? And my mom said, well, my name is Shanaz. Can I get just 2 boxes of chocolate, please? I'm gonna miss my flight if I don't move right away. And my father said, yes, absolutely, of course. Just give me one moment, Shanaz. My father's heart was absolutely dancing at that time. He went to the back of the shop. He grabbed 2 boxes of chocolate. The best chocolate you would ever imagine. It was dark chocolate, milk chocolate, white chocolate, gold chocolate, ruby chocolate, filled with roasted hazelnuts and pistachios and almonds and all kind of roses and seeds and dried Syrian cherries and apricot, all kind of absolute scrumptiousness that you would ever think of. And my father brought 2 boxes from the back. He had only 10 in that stack, brought 2 to the front, gave them to my mother, who was just a customer at that time for him, and told her, Shanaz, take these 2 boxes of chocolate, go see your family, and it creates some extraordinary moments, and come back and tell me all about it. And my mother, she didn't believe what was happening at that time because she was looking around and she thought that this was a scam. She was looking around and saying, where are the cameras, right? Because you are not just used to going to a chocolate shop and someone will give you 2 free boxes of chocolate. But my father said that you would really appreciate this gift, but you have to come back and tell me all about it. My mother nodded in agreement. She left the store. She was on the plane thinking about what just happened. And the boxes were absolutely beautifully designed. So she arrived, she sat with her family for the first hour, and then she was talking to them about that chocolate experience she had. They came all to open the 2 boxes that my father had gifted my mother. And my mother opened one of the boxes, and here was a note inside one of the boxes that said, "Hello, my name is Isam. I don't make chocolate, I make happiness." And my mother's heart was absolutely melted at that time. So after 1 week that she spent with her family, she came back to Damascus, as she promised my father, and told him all about that experience and bought the rest of the chocolate on the back shelf. This is a great marketing tip, right? Like if you want to give 2 free boxes of chocolate, somebody will come and buy the 8 boxes on the back shelf. This is a great strategy from my father. Great entrepreneur spirit for sure. And after that, my parents actually, my mother became the best customer for my father, and my parents kept seeing each other for 6 months, and then they fell in love and they got married. And I was born a few years after, and they always say I was born because of 2 free boxes of chocolate. And my siblings and I were living the dream. We were living with such love and embracement from our family. Unfortunately, right now, like just talking to you about our experiences back home in Syria, I wanted you to know that no one was born there to immigrate. No one was born and thinking, well, tomorrow I want to become a refugee. Because becoming an immigrant or a refugee, it's not a life goal. It's not a choice. This is not a purpose that someone has and dream that someone has in their own lives. Anybody can be forced to become a refugee. Anybody can be forced to become an immigrant. Anybody will have, to flee persecution and war if they are living through it. And countries like Canada have that amazing opportunity to welcome people. I remember growing up in Damascus, since the moment I was born, I was always being taught, and I was always meeting these amazing people, our neighbors, who were also refugees coming from Iraq, coming from Turkey, coming from Armenia. Some of our neighbors, actually, they were refugees, came to Syria during the Second World War, and their kids and grandkids were my best friends. They learned Arabic, and they were really our best neighbors. Syria was an amazing country that welcomed a lot of nations throughout history, because there were always trouble around that region in the Middle East. So I always remember that Canada and Syria share that sense of hospitality, share that sense of love for helping the others and supporting them. And since I was growing up, I have to tell you that, as Henry mentioned, I have a medical background. And you might be wondering, what does a medical student have to do with a chocolate company? I was always correlating between chocolate and medicine in a very weird way, that chocolate is a product that seeks to raise happiness, and medicine seeks to diminish pain. There's always that mutual point for these two to come across each other. And I always felt that my father's business and my family's business was for a mission. And that mission is something noble for everyone in the family to step in and help. And not only for building that chocolate empire, which, by the way, turned from 2 shops in Damascus to become the 2nd largest chocolate factory in the Middle East by 2006. That my father opened that largest factory that had shipped and exported chocolate everywhere. My father's company was exporting chocolate to Turkey, to Egypt, to Belgium, and a lot of European countries. Belgium did not need chocolate at that time. They had a lot, but they felt that my father's recipe was something that's going to give them strength to the flavors assortments, and it's something that is unique and remarkable. And that was another lesson actually in entrepreneurship. You meet a lot of entrepreneurs during your day-to-day lives, during your work, from your family, from your neighbors, from your friends. And you have to ask an entrepreneur, what does entrepreneurship even mean to them? You would absolutely be surprised how different the answers might be. For me, the first thing that comes to my mind is something I read for Reid Hoffman. He said that entrepreneurship is like jumping off cliffs and building a plane on the way down. So you have to jump off these cliffs first, and you have to build that plane on the way down, but you have to fly again. And that's really what we had to do. Before getting into the war stories and before getting into the stories of coming to Canada, I really wanted to tell you that I lived a life when all my family members were surrounding us with love, And I did not live a normal life like a lot of Syrians, actually. We were living in one building, my entire family members. My grandmother was on the first floor. We were on the second floor, my uncles and my aunts, and everyone was there. From, Damascus, living on the borders between the ancient city and the modern city. Damascus is the most ancient inhabited city in the world, goes back 10,000 years in history. And it was absolutely remarkable to feel that I'm part of that culture. I'm part of that heritage. I'm carrying that with me. I'm carrying all of these inventions and contributions to civilizations wherever I went. And it kind of contributed and shaped the way that I think about the world these days. And what really matters is that not the place where you are born, but what matters is where you feel that you can prosper. What matters is where you feel that you are there and supported. What matters is where you feel that you belong and you have a family, where you are absolutely true to yourself when you say, this is home. I felt it in Syria. I'm not gonna lie, I felt it in Syria. When I was growing up there, I felt it within my family connections. I felt it within everyone around me. But at the same time, thinking about having that supper with my family members every single Saturday was life-changing. Every single Saturday, my grandmother used to prepare the supper for all of us. So she had that giant room in her house. And every Saturday, we used to go there and have supper all together. And if you had a trouble, if you had any challenge in your life, your grandmother would be there. Your grandfather would be there. Your uncles and your aunts and your cousins. They're going to support you to get through what you are going through. And that's really gave us the strength and the sense of social cohesion that we were living through. I have to share with you that in 2008, surprisingly, I came across a very absolutely kind and generous Canadian man for the first time. That Canadian man was in Syria on a freelance project to do photography for National Geographic. And it was not the kind of the meeting that you would assume, because at that time I did not speak English. So I had a dictionary with me and I was on the public transit. A guy jumped on the bus and he came and he sat beside me. He didn't speak to anybody and he looked really worried. I looked at him and I said, what's going on? He did not reply to me in Arabic, so I knew he did not speak Arabic. And then I tried to figure out what language he speaks. And then after he felt comfortable sharing with me, he told me that he speaks English. I opened my dictionary at that time and I started realizing, how close we are as human beings. I just met someone who is exactly from the other side of the world. And the guy was actually from British Columbia, from a small town called Salmon Arm. And, we were talking about what is making him concerned and what is really making him worried. And the guy started sharing with me that he came to Syria for that project and then he lost his passport, he lost his cell phone, and he doesn't really know how to speak to anyone there. And then I realized when really I have to support him to get to the embassy. But then I thought, well, let me take him home and then he can just get something to eat, get a shower, and then probably we'll go to the embassy together. We went home. I took that Canadian man home with me and his name was Craig. We went home and then he absolutely loved the food. And so he stayed with us for a while. And then me and my friends, we tried to find his papers. We found it after 3 days and we brought it to him. We brought his passport, we brought his money, we brought his keys and everything. And then he told us, can I stay with you guys one more month? And I said, yes, of course. But I had no idea that in 2008, I would welcome a Canadian man in our house. And in 2016, Canadians would welcome us in their houses, would welcome us in their country. My message to you today, as people who are interested in foreign policy, interested in making policies that change life for others, always think about these laws of reciprocity. As human beings, before anything else, we have to put our humanity first. We have to make humanity our compass. We have to think about those who we are supporting, not as numbers, but as real human beings, because each one of them have a story. Each one of them has struggled in their life to get to where they are today. And I started thinking that if you give kindness, you will get kindness. If you If you give fear and anxiety, you will absolutely get fear and anxiety in return, right? Whatever you give, you will get back. There is no absolute difference, I guess, in our way of thinking as a human being about that law of reciprocity. And that was the huge, actually, proof that I told you about helping a Canadian man in Syria and being helped by a whole nation. I know you're all really waiting about the story for me coming here, but before I came to Canada, we suffered for around 4 years. After the war started in Syria in 2011, I remember very well that it had destroyed many households, it had killed many people, and a lot of people actually lost their lives and lost their loved ones. The protest started in Damascus in March in 2011, and it went on and on and on. In 2012, when it turned into a violent conflict between the regime and the rebels at that time, they reached Damascus in 2012. In the middle of the summer, we were having dinner in the middle of July, and we started hearing explosions around the building that we were in. And it was the first time that we were hearing explosions, and we had no idea what to do. You know, you're looking out of your window and you're seeing a soldier carrying a gun and trying to enter and break in some of the houses and the apartments. And they were pulling men outside of these apartments and pulling young children who could be a threat to the regime at that time. And they were shooting them right in front of their families. And I was just sneaking some of the sight from my window. And I didn't tell anyone from my family what I just saw. And then we started hearing helicopters hovering around the building. It was getting in around midnight. Then we knew it was not safe anymore to stay in that building, but we had no place to go. We ran down the stairs. We were rushing down the stairs. And there was a little tiny room in the basement that can barely fit 20 of us. And we sat there, 60 members of my family, in that little tiny room. Just imagine, just picture this with me. Sitting with your family members, the only thing that you can hear is the sounds of explosions around that building. The only thing that you can feel is the ground shaking because of the bombings and the screams of the kids and everyone. So we stayed there for 5 nights in the darkness, without electricity, without medication, without food, without water. So many times we ran out of breath. I had no idea actually how we survived the harsh night staying in that basement. No one could go up because they would be shot by the sniper. On the 5th night, I told my family, well, you know, guys, we have to leave. And everyone was looking at me as, you know, if I just throw in a very odd idea. And they told me, well, we cannot leave. This is our home. And I said, I would rather die trying to escape from that building than dying in a basement, because we as human beings have much more worth inside each one of us than just dying in a basement in a war that we didn't want to become part of. And talking about humanity and not really seeing human beings as numbers, you know, a lot of people at that time were seeing refugees as numbers on the screens of CBC or CNN. They were telling you 200 people were killed in Syria. No one was mentioning the names of these people as if they were nameless, but they were not. Everyone had a story. And I didn't just my family to become part and to become a number at that time. So we stayed there in Damascus, although all my family members left it. The family members I'm talking to you about right now, they are scattered in over 34 countries around the world. My family are absolutely everywhere. They are literally everywhere. My family are in the US, they are in Germany, they are in Sweden, they're in Spain, they're in Turkey, they're in Egypt, they're in Argentina, they're in Brazil. And we actually just arrived in Canada in 2016. But at that time, still in Damascus in 2012, my father was at the factory. I was doing one of the trainings at the hospital, and I called my father. I said, Dad, you should leave the factory right now. And he said, why? I said, because you can't you hear the explosions? And he asked all the staff to leave, hundreds of them. He was the last person to leave the factory. And 10 minutes after he left the factory, it was bombed by an airstrike. The explosion that had attacked our factory in Damascus that chocolate empire was one of the most powerful explosions in the Syrian war. It just leveled the whole factory on the ground. And my father came home. He didn't know. He didn't know that he just survived the second most powerful explosion in that whole region. And it was absolutely a nightmare for him. He was speechless. He didn't speak to anyone for 3 days. He was just saying, everything has gone. Everything has gone. And then a couple of months later, I was just talking to my brother on the sidewalk and the mortar rocket hit near us. I looked at my brother and he lost his consciousness. I carried him, we ran into the house. And then I told my brother and I told my family, it's not time to do medicine. It's not time to do business. That was the time to survive. That was absolutely the time to survive. And to be honest, my family at that time, they didn't know what was happening. They didn't know that there was absolutely an opportunity for us to start a new life on the other side of the world. We left to Lebanon, we became called refugees. Becoming a refugee means that you lost everything. You lost your sense of identity, you lost your belonging, you lost your family members, you lost everything you love and care about. But the hardest part is that you lost your sense of identity. So whatever policies we are building here in this country should be focused on restoring the identities for those who lost it during the war, for those who lost it in their homelands. A lot of people actually did not want to become refugees. When they crossed that border, they were very hesitant because they knew that they are no longer Syrians, they are not Lebanese, and now they are without any status. We went to the United Nations, we registered, and then it was that choice that we had to make. And we said, we are not gonna play the role of victims. We're gonna play the role of victors. The war maybe killed many things in us, maybe destroyed a lot of things that we have. Maybe have gone, way above and beyond to hurt us and to harm us, but it could not steal from us our sense of skills and talents. This is our intellectual property. And this is what refugees have. Skills and talents that they can rebuild themselves, they can rebuild their lives, and they can share what they are coming to Canada to do, where they're coming to a new country to do. In Lebanon, we spent a long time since 2013. For almost 3 years, we were trying to get out of Lebanon. But I was volunteering with the United Nations, helping building hospitals on the border between Syria and Lebanon, primary and secondary healthcare centers, tertiary healthcare centers for people with thalassemia and cancer, and trying to help patients. That was my passion, and it is still my passion. And I worked with the WHO, I worked with the UN, and then I realized that I have to get my family out of Lebanon. And the story actually of getting out of Lebanon was all due to the kindness of a strange man I will never meet again. He was a cab driver who told me about the scholarship that Canadian Embassy was offering at that time. So I went to the embassy, and in March 2015, I did the first interview, and the ambassador at that time and everyone in the embassy thought that the application was really great. So they invited my family to come with me, not for the scholarship, just as a PVOR resettlement option. And it was absolutely amazing because I had no idea how to express my gratitude for the Canadian Embassy at that time. It was a huge turning point in my life. When you reach the lowest of lows, when you reach the most bottom that you would think you have reached, and then somebody just comes and give you that light or show you the light at the end of the tunnel. And I know that during this pandemic, we're all connecting to this crisis. But also I have to mention that during the pandemic, I said that in 2013, just a simple comparison, in 2013, during the war that tore my immediate family apart, destroyed our livelihoods, killed many of my family members, we were forced to leave our houses. We were forced to leave everything behind. During the pandemic since 2020, we were asked to stay home and we were asked to stay safe. I said, I will take the second. I will take 5 pandemics over living in a war, because living in a pandemic is a piece of cake compared to living through the war. While we were in Lebanon and I knew about that scholarship, I came back home to my family and I told them, hey guys, we are traveling. And my family were so surprised. They didn't know what was going on. And I said, guys, we are traveling to a very special place. And my father said, where? To Germany? I said, no. My mom said, where? To Sweden? I said, no. They said, to Australia? No. Egypt? No. Argentina? No. US? No. They tried every country on earth except Canada. And after a moment of silence, actually, I told them, hey guys, we're traveling to Canada. Their faces were, right now in Nova Scotia, it is rainy, but it's going to get freezing again. It was like if they were struck by a -20 when they are just going out of a warm zone. And they were absolutely frozen. But they told me all in one voice. They looked at me and they said, Canada is too cold. This country has a very awful reputation about the weather in the Middle East. It's like the country that escaped the Ice Age, right? And I absolutely love the way that my family were looking out for opportunities to stay optimistic, to stay hopeful. My family taught me during the time of hardship and loss that hope is the best medication. That hope is what's going to keep us for tomorrow, for the next year, for the next 10 years, for the next 50 years, and for generations and generations to come. And we lost hope during this journey. I'm not lying to tell you that it was all, kind of roses, but there was a lot of moments actually where my family and we were almost counting down to death. We knew that there was no opportunity for us to rebuild anything because no other country was accepting us. So when Canada's opportunity came, it was that huge, absolute, great success for our family to be able to rebuild. I remember in 2015, I was thinking Canadians are very smart, and they really are. The way that they promote this country to everyone around the world, everything you see, every picture, every article, every video, everything is taken between May and October. No one shows you anything between November and April. It's like, a state secret. No one really wanted to show you the horrible meter of snow that needed to be shoveled here in Nova Scotia over the last weekend, and the freezing rain that was just falling from the sky. Everyone shows you hiking, kayaking, doing fun at the beach, watching the sun go down, going to the cottage. It was absolutely remarkable for me even to arrive in the winter time in Nova Scotia, because I realized that if I will go through December until February, then I will survive the entire year, which I absolutely did. So I arrived in Canada before my family, and I went to Toronto. The story of me coming to Nova Scotia, which I think it's really important for everyone to hear, but I really wanted to, let me try to show you a video, and I'm not sure if it is queued up on Henry's end, but I can show you a video of my family's journey coming to Canada, just to really let you know how did our family start our new lives here. It was something that I truly believe that should be not only inspiring for policymakers, but for everyone. Every newcomer should learn about other people's experiences and non-immigrants, especially when they arrive in a new country. So let me try to share my video with you, and hopefully you guys are gonna enjoy watching this. Our story is all about the importance of peace. Without peace, there's no life.
everyone. Hi.
I really love people to realize the importance of small businesses in every community.
Newcomers and immigrants, they are very motivated to translate their skills and experience.
Without using Google, Peace by Chocolate would not have had this level of success. Chocolate always gathers and brings people together.
Would you like to try a peace bar?
Thank you very much.
This is also for you. Thank you. Enjoy it.
With a piece of chocolate, you can open a connection with everyone.
I have 2 boxes of that at my cottage.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
It's about the people, about the hello that I receive every time I walk on Main Street with my family.
Yeah, keep up the good work.
Oh, thank you
You're
so
doing
much.
great things.
Thank you so much.
My family feels safe. We are not refugees anymore, we are new Canadians. Antigonish is really the real meaning for home for me now. As a place, it's beautiful. With its people, it's courageous. I would say it's the most peaceful place on earth.
So that video was done and made by Google in when we came to Canada in 2018, and everyone was really excited to come to my farm the day after, and they were shaking his hands, and everyone was thinking, my mother was thinking that she's married to George Clooney. When my family arrived in Canada, we really had one mission, was to rebuild the family business, to tell the country that we did not come here to take, we came here to contribute, and that refugees don't take, but they give jobs, actually, and they offer them. Somebody came to me a few days after I arrived in Canada and asked me, why did you come to Canada to take our jobs? And then I went to them and I said, actually, we did not come here to take jobs. And, we had an absolutely incredible opportunity for us afterwards to start sharing our story with the wider audience in Canada when we started the company in the farmers market and then in the home kitchen. And then we started hearing about wildfires in Fort McMurray. So we built a community contribution piece associated with our products throughout our Peace on Earth Society. Donations go to Canadian Mental Health Association. Donations go to Refugee Hub, to Indigenous communities across Canada. Yes, as newcomers, we felt that we have to give back to Indigenous communities, those who welcomed immigrants throughout history, those who were there before anybody else. If we are not Indigenous on this land that I'm speaking to you from, or the land that you are listening to me from, then we came from somewhere, or our parents came from somewhere, or our grandparents came from somewhere. And that's why you would find actually on our products, and I was explicitly told not to make any advertising for Peace by Chocolate here, but it's really delicious white dark and milk chocolate. It's amazingly affordable, and I'm sure that a lot of you are also still have some of your chocolate bars, which I'm going to tell you some stories about them, and I really cannot wait for you to taste a lot of this chocolate, especially if you still have this incredible chocolate bar that I'm going to talk about in a second, the unique element of our a brand that really makes the story special and the brand special, not only by caring about the triple bottom line and the community partnerships, the planet, caring about our people and building a strong team, but also making good products. The messages that we hear always in entrepreneurship, a lot of CEOs these days, they just sit in towers. Maybe they never meet their employees, and they don't know that behind each thing there is a story of somebody who's working there and making these kind of products that they are building their wealth on. Our methodology is much different. Our methodology is, if we want to build a brand based on peace, then we have to be peaceful all around. We have to care about our people. We have to care about our planet. We have to care a lot about our community. And this golden rule has inspired us and shaped us actually for days and days afterwards. So I'm going to talk to you about this product, but I really wanted to tell you the stage that we have rebuilt the business. It was absolutely very quickly. We came to Canada only in 2016. We started making chocolate within a month after our arrival, and we realized that what doesn't kill you absolutely makes you stronger. The mindset of resilience and our ability and adaptability to rebuild what is lost during a crisis define who we are. And we as a family, we realize that we have absolutely the skills that we need to start making chocolate in the home kitchen, not only to sell the chocolate itself, but to spread our messages. So without our branding itself, you might be able to see now during Valentine's Day, we have unsolicited love advice inside each one of our packaging, and you can check it on our website, peacebychocolate.ca. And what we did is we interviewed couples across the country who stayed together over 25 years. We interviewed them. We asked them, what's your secret for love? We printed the advice, and then we inserted it into each one of those packages. And a lot of the people actually were so inspired. Relationships can be really difficult. And sharing our experiences, and those who managed to stay in that relationship for 25 years of their lives and above, they shared with us actually what did they think about the key reasons for successful relationships, like listening, like remembering your partner's birthday, remembering your anniversary's date. For Easter, we asked Canadians what do they want, and they said they wanted family activity. So we are including violet seeds inside each one of our packages, so people can go and plant their own chocolate violet seeds, each one in their own houses. For Mother's Day, we have created something called Happy Mother's Week, because we believe that mothers come in all kinds. For the summer, we said, speak your piece. We created happy holidays, all of them for the holidays, because we believe that we have to celebrate each faith that has celebrations around the time in November and December. And we really are all about inclusivity and celebrating our diversity as human, because this is absolutely not only our strength, it is the fuel that's going to give us hope for the future, that's going to bring all of the human beings together. So the stories that I really want to tell you, this bar is our newest chocolate bar, and it is this is an incredible chocolate bar that I'm so proud of, and you still have it. Please look at it. It just says that this is white chocolate with caramel. Actually, we call this the gold chocolate. It is one of the recipes that my father made, which is infused roasted caramel within the white chocolate, and there is confections and sea salt on the top. This is the new collection that we call it the new Peace Bar. So you are probably among the very first few Canadians who are tasting this chocolate bar in this collection. It is not up there yet on the website. It is not up there anywhere, but I wanted to share with you. If you open the package on the side, and you would be able to see that our on the inside of the wrap there is our story. So if you open the package inside the wrap, inside the pack, you would see our story both in English and in French. And we really wanted to tell people to honor the peaceful gesture, and the proceeds of partials of this product will go to support peace building projects and deliver a more peaceful world. And just to tell people that no person absolutely chooses to be a refugee. So you will be able to get that product out of the package, get the tinfoil wrap, and you would, I just have some really key quick messages for you as if you are tasting chocolate for the first time. So if you are tasting chocolate for the first time, high quality chocolate, always remember, when you have good chocolate in front of you, you have to think of it as tasting and not eating, right? Because it's not the same thing. And you have to relax and you have to clear your mind, because don't try to taste chocolate when you are stressed or you are hurried, because you really have to enjoy with friends and family, or you can enjoy it by yourself, no problem. To taste the chocolate, you have to be in room temperature as well. So don't store the chocolate in the refrigerator or next to a radiator or stove. Just keep it dry and keep it cool. And first, you have to use your eyes. You have to look at the chocolate and see that kind of a subtle kind of element and shine to it. Because we always eat with our eyes first. And I really wanted to make sure that you'll be able to experience that. If you start with your eyes, then whenever you're holding the chocolate bar, you'll be able to smell. You'll be able to smell the aroma of the chocolate between your fingers. And each chocolate bar and each good tempered chocolate bar will have something called the snap. So whenever you break it, you will hear that snap that comes out of it. And as I mentioned, this golden chocolate bar has Nova Scotian and Newfoundland sea salt on top of the bar, filled with confections of dark chocolate, milk chocolate, and white chocolate. And all of those flavors actually are crunchy, crisp pearls that are topping our chocolate with caramel chocolate bars. So you have to lift your hand to your nose and you have to smell the aroma. And you really, what you need to do, you need to capture that aroma and to absolutely try to make sure that you have that floral, fruity and caramelly aroma, especially for this chocolate bar. And then it depends about what flavor. And then finally, certainly you would be able to taste the chocolate. So the best way to taste the chocolate, and I hope that you still have some to taste, to put a small piece of the chocolate on your tongue. And then what you would do is you will let it slowly melt. So once the chocolate is melted, run your tongue around your mouth to get the full mouth feel. And then you would be able to have that texture of the chocolate. It should be, full and velvety. It would be smooth as well. This is, the great definition of great chocolate. So good luck with your tasting of the first piece of chocolate. Let me know in the chat, and please let us know on the company's website as well about what did you think. I'm going to finish with you, and I would be happy to take any questions if you guys might have them. I just wanted to say thank you for having me. It was an absolute honor and pleasure for me to be with you. This is an incredible opportunity for me to speak to you. And if you see the arch above my head, this is actually our store front. This is our unique flagship store in Halifax. As you see, the arch is a reflection and representation of our culture. We built that. It has actually a peace sign on the other side of it, just to tell people that peace is beautiful in every way, and peace is beautiful in every language. The last quote I really want to share with you today is something from a friend of mine who was in Damascus, and she died in one of the bombings in 2014. She was the last person to text me before I left Damascus in 2013. And the last thing she told me, she saw me, I was worried about the future of my family. And she said, Tareq, do you know that no one can go back and start a new beginning, but everyone can start today and make a new ending. So I truly appreciated the advice, and that's really what has carried on with me. There are a lot of things that I truly appreciate right now. Using our humanity as a bridge is very critical at this point in time. We are seeing what's happening in the country. We are seeing that a lot of people can forget what does even humanity mean to each one of us. I really hope we can reflect on our story, on the immigrant story, on the refugee story, on the people who come here to share this country with everyone peacefully. They just want one thing, to live in peace and have a brighter future. So thank you very much, Henry, for having me. It was an absolute honor, and really looking forward. If anyone has any questions, please don't hesitate to let me know. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tareq. I will pass to Aaron Baines, our president, for proper thank yous and to give a little description of the Canadian National Council. But I did want to get in my own question, if I can,
Sure.
Before Aaron takes over, and to see if there are other questions in the chat. Given your unique experience, and this is truly moving and inspirational.
Thank you.
But there must have been things you saw on the way in the way the Canadian immigration policy works, besides the issue of time delay,
Right.
where you think improvements could be made. So if you had the power to do so,
Right.
what changes, and given your experiences here and what you've learned as an entrepreneur and our skill shortages, etc., what lessons, what recommendations would you make for policy change?
One of the most amazing things that happened for us in our own story is being in a small town. A lot of immigrants are not aware of the opportunity that is all about being in a small town and starting a new life in a small town. If I didn't arrive in Antigonish as an immigrant, I only know about the MTV, which is Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver. This is what immigrants know about. And the immigration system does not tell people actually that, yes, there is a life in small towns. Yes, if you have a family, you might succeed there. You might succeed even faster because you'll find a bigger family and a community as a whole rallying around you, supporting you, giving you the things that you need to start a new life and getting up on your feet again and start your own life, getting to business, find a job, get to school, do whatever you want. While I think this was a missing feature, one of the Canadian consuls that I met in Lebanon that I was just doing my interview with, he told me that, being in a small town is going to help us. And I was scared at that time. I didn't know. I'm from a big city in Damascus. If I was going to the hospital for training, I would pass by 100,000 people on the way to the hospital. It was an absolute big city. So that is one thing. The other thing is for the Canadian immigration system, I think other than the delays and certainly the time, the processing time, I think Canada needs to believe we know that immigration is a great asset in Canada, but we need to totally believe in it. So allocating proper resources for that human aspect of the task. My friend is Minister Sean Fraser. He's the Minister of Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship, and he's actually the MP for my riding. And I remember I met him for the first time 6 years ago. And then we were just talking about how immigration is a great asset for provinces like Nova Scotia, like PI, like Newfoundland, like across the country when there is aging population. So focusing a lot on the allocating the resources that are needed, not in Canada only, because in Canada there are millions of Canadians who are willing to volunteer, donate their money and their time, and they are out there welcoming people at the airports. What I'm really thinking about is people who are overseas, people who are interviewing the immigrants, people who are interviewing the applicants and giving them the information or filling their application or filling their appointments. So I truly believe that there is absolutely a room for improvement there. And I would certainly love to advise more there. I've met a lot of Canadian diplomats throughout the past 6 years. I've traveled around the world. I was at the embassy in Paris and I met the ambassador and I had an event there at the OECD. So talking to a lot of diplomats and ambassadors and Canadians across the world has certainly taught me a lot. And the immigration system in Canada is not perfect, but I think we are in really great place to start to do the improvements that are needed to make sure that there is no one in Canada that doesn't believe that immigration is an asset, because we are now at a critical time in our lives when labor shortages are affecting everyone across the country, for example, and immigration is an absolutely great solution for that. So I really want everyone in Canada to believe in that. And I want the federal and provincial governments as well to come together, because we have sometimes seen that there are some gaps between the governments, between the number of people who really want to go to a place and the number of people that they are not being sent to provinces like Nova Scotia or PI or Newfoundland. So I think creating that balance in the immigration system and in the destinations for immigrants is very critical for the sustainability for our entire country.
Thank you. I would be remiss by not commenting, given my current research, that there is a significant increase in number of immigrants settling in second and third tier cities,
Right.
beyond Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver. And our consul general in Los Angeles is, in fact, an actor who performed the role of the imam in Little Mosque on the Prairie. And offline, I'll ask you if that is an appropriate Canadian export to send the message about welcoming of new immigrants of different cultures into small towns. With that, I don't see any questions in the chat. If you do have, so please include them now.
Henry, we do have
Michael,
one
do
question.
I see any? Do you see any?
In the Q&A bar beside
Yes.
the chat.
Yes, the Q&A bar. Yes, do you want to read those that you see there, Michael?
Yeah, sure. I know we're running a bit late on time, so we can maybe go through this one quickly, but
Sure.
Nyla Wilson asks, how does your chocolate making business today compare to that of your father's business back in Damascus? And do you have a similar process, approach to the business and employ similar types of skilled staff?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. This is a great question. Yes, it is quite actually similar and different at the same time. Similar in the ways that we are passionate about spreading the same messages, giving back to the community, partnering with non-for-profit organizations. It is different in the way that the business was quickly set up. In Damascus, it took my father 12 years to just register the business. We did it here in Canada within 2 weeks. So the speed of doing business in Canada is absolutely remarkable. There are resources out there to help newcomers and to help new entrepreneurs to set up their business. So in terms of the skills, it is actually interesting because right now we are hiring actually very unique skills. So we are, it is at a very interesting growth phase for our company. As I see, Peace by Chocolate hopefully is one of the top 5 chocolate companies in Canada within the next few years. So we are hopeful for a big future for our brand and for our company. And it is an absolute honor. Right now our products are available in almost 1,000 stores across Canada. They're available for an e-commerce, and we sell to the US. And hopefully we have an export plan coming soon. And there is a movie based on our story. Actually, it's going to be released in May. So you can watch it in Cineplex, and you can watch it on Netflix, and hopefully on Crave and many other streaming platforms. So we'll be sharing the news on our website and our social media. Yeah, so in terms of the business itself, it is similar in many ways. The difference is that we are now rallied around by a community that adopted us. It's not our birth family. Now it is our adoptive family, which is the community of Antigonish and the province of Nova Scotia.
And highly recommend to those traveling to Nova Scotia, make the pilgrimage to Antigonish. It's worth the effort. I did that in September. I guess at this point, if there are no other questions, we pass it to Aaron, our esteemed president.
Thank you so much, Henry, and thank you, Tareq. It's an incredible presentation. I'm personally very moved by not only your journey, your story, but also the positive spirit with which that you look to the future and also provide guidance on how we can act in the present. We can't ignore the fact that there is divisiveness at every front, and certainly in the newspapers today and on social media. But I think that some of the initial things that you mentioned, the human aspect of diplomacy, the relationship aspect of coming together and building relationships with people from different backgrounds, and how that is truly the footsteps towards a really peaceful story and a way in which Canadians can engage in diplomacy while they're abroad and while they're at home with those who are abroad is really quite inspiring, and something I hope that our members take to heart. We are the Canadian International Council, the Toronto chapter, almost a century-old organization that has worked tirelessly for that 100 years to try and bring global affairs and discussions about global affairs to Canadians and help Canadians engage with the world around them, pressing issues around them, and at certain times also taste the delights of the world around them, like today. I just want to end by truly thanking you again for taking the time to not only speak with us, but thank you for just being who you are and bringing your positivity, your journey, and not for finding, as being an immigrant to Canada, but for choosing Canada as being the place where you would bring that type of mentality, bring that energy, and bring a positive future for the people around you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aaron. Really appreciate the kind messages, and I really just wanted to echo your words and just finish by saying that this is an absolutely incredible honor for me to be with you tonight, and I hope that you got some good tips on really how to be celebrating a welcoming nation that celebrates everyone, because everyone makes Canada stronger for our kids and grandkids. And I truly appreciate all the lovely comments there in the chat. Thank you very much, and looking forward to speaking and seeing you hopefully again all in person. So stay safe, and we'll see you all again soon. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tareq. And a special thank you to Henry and Michael for helping from the board on organizing this event, and to all of our members and guests who are not yet members for being present and participating in this evening's program. We want to also ensure everybody keeps an eye on the website for future programming. Stay engaged with the branch, stay engaged with global diplomacy. Thank you all, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.